Yeah,
Big win.
that was a
Big
great,
win. What?
huge to win. Our first Premier League opening day victory since we come up. So massive.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely massive. And I just thought they played well.
Hmm.
Um, you could say that they lost control in the second half a little bit.
Yep.
But I guess let's just go in a kind of a timeline. So I thought they started pretty brightly. Would you concur with that? And I thought that they had a good game plan. And then it was the switch ball to Rasmus.
Yep.
And what did you think of that? I'm going to turn my light on over here, but go ahead. What were
Sure.
your
Yeah.
thoughts
No problem.
on the conceding first goal?
So the commentary around it has perplexed me a little bit because he keeps seeing things about how did Rasmus Christensen get bullied off the ball by Neto, right? And it's like he wasn't really bullied. Like if you actually watch closely what happened, he kind of got wrong-footed, turned around, and lost his balance. And I think Neto maybe even had grabbed his wrist and kind of gave him a tug when he was off balance. So it didn't look to me like he got out muscled at all. I mean, not that it matters. It resulted in a goal either way. But to me,
Yeah.
it wasn't an issue of being bullied off the ball. It was really he seemed to be caught wrong-footed. He seemed to lose his balance turning around. Neto seemed to have his hand or his wrist a little bit. He certainly, I mean, Neto's movement certainly threw him for a loop, and he's going to have to do better. He's not blameless in that, but this idea that he got bullied off the ball isn't exactly correct.
Okay.
I don't think. The effect
All
is
right.
the same either way. It doesn't matter. It's kind of a moot point, but yeah, it was it was like you said, it's just the switch ball. This we're going to have to watch out for. I mean, our fullbacks are exposed in this system. It's going to be a weak spot. I expect someone like Christensen, to learn from that mistake. I would hope so.
Okay. And then we seem to. I don't think it really phased the team. There was something about the team where the heads weren't really down. I thought that they responded after conceding. Okay, it was just frustrating as a fan to be like, oh man, again, and and watch Wolves just park the bus for 85 minutes or whatever. Time wasting master classes.
Park the ambulance, more like.
Park the ambulance, yes.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, we got back into the game at around 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And Rodrigo, he's kind of surprised me, even in preseason, and this goal, put it back on his right foot, and put a shot on goal, which is kind of what we needed at that point. There was something just like put it on, ask a question, smack it, and then maybe we get a rebound goal, a scrappy goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you think of Rodrigo? And then obviously the pressing by Aronson to win it back.
I wanted to really talk about that actually, because that some of the commentary I've seen is just how it was sort of scrappy, and we were sort of lucky to be able to get the ball back. That's actually the system in action. That's what's supposed to happen. That's the strategy. You create chaos and you press immediately upon losing the ball in an attempt to try to win it back and get a shot from a central area or from an area very close to the net. So yeah, that to me was the system working the way that it was meant to work. And I think that the players involved, Aronson, Harrison, and Rodrigo all did exactly what they were supposed to. Rodrigo to sort of move the ball onto his right foot and hit with that sort of venom from a close range with accuracy. And we've seen him hit shots before. If he gets a hold of one, he can generate a lot of power on his shots. So, I think Jose Sa has come in for a bit of criticism about sort of letting one in at the near post, which I think is a criticism that a lot of keepers get, which is nonsense. Letting one at the near post is no different than letting one anywhere else, frankly. I mean, it can be, but when a shot is hit that closely to you, with that much power. The only option that he might have been able to do better is if he tried to save it with his feet. But I don't think he was expecting that shot from that tight angle. Maybe he should have. But I think that goal was less a result of a mistake. There was a mistake. Often there is when a goal is scored. Usually someone has made a mistake of some kind. But I think it was less to do with the mistake by Saw at his near post than it was to do with the fact that Rodrigo, his movement, got himself into a good position and hit the shot with such venom from such a close range. And you saw the ball ricochet off Saw's hand and under it and go into the net. So you could see how much power was in that shot. And I think it was very well done overall and exactly the kind of thing that I think we're trying to do.
Yeah. Aaronson's pressing was incredible to win the ball back. The individual that had the ball for only a couple of moments. I mean, it was like he had no chance. And then, like you said, it's just about getting bodies in the box and kicking the ball in. And so credit to Rodrigo for taking that chance, because it was kind of just, you wanted to scream out, just hit the ball, kick it, So they got a shot on target, went in for Rodrigo. I thought it was good. And I reflect back on Rodrigo's his first time I kind of was understanding his game was the Villa game where Bamford scored a hat trick.
Yep.
Rodrigo, the first goal Bamford scored was to kind of get him off and relieve the pressure. Was a goal where I think Leeds they were countering, but Rodrigo eventually smacked the ball, and it was off the keeper, and then it was perfect for Bamford to just slot it in.
That's right. It was a real pocher's effort, right? He got in and got the rebound and tucked it away.
Tucked it away. Yeah. And that was just something like Bamford needed kind of that day. And then Bamford this following two goals were just, beauties.
Yeah.
But that was just something. So when he did that over the weekend, even though it wasn't maybe the best angle, or maybe he could have done one more pass and got it to Harrison or Aronson for a more central location. There was something about that moment of the game I thought just needed a shot on goal.
Yeah.
And then this is where a lot of people I've been hearing out on podcasts, etc., where Leeds had lost control of the game a little bit. I feel like Wolves had possession. We weren't getting the ball off of the players as like they were in the first half. What did you think of this spell where it seemed like you would have said if a goal came from Wolves, you would have said it was coming? What did you think of this phase that I think maybe the game was in jeopardy or could have been lost?
Well, let me start with a positive. And the most important thing there is that we were bending, but we didn't break. And that type of showing that resilience, I think, is going to be very critical this year, especially because of how we collapsed and folded like a cheap deck chair last year. Like, we need to be able to show that resilience, and we were able to do it. So that's going to be a key: bend but don't break. And there are going to be moments where we bend significantly, especially playing this style of football, which is not, unlike Bielsa ball, is not oriented around keeping possession. So we are allowing the other team to have possession. Ideally, we're not giving it up in our own half, but perhaps losing it in the attacking third and then winning it back quickly. But we are going to see these moments. Hopefully, they're able to clamp down on them and be able to get transition going a little bit better with some other outlets. There may have been some rustiness going on. I think perhaps also they weren't quite ready for it. It was just coming out right after the halftime break. And obviously Wolves had a game plan at that point that perhaps we weren't quite ready for that level of intensity from them. So maybe we were caught by surprise. It seemed to me that we lacked an out ball, and of course that we no longer do those passing triangles, out wide that we used to do with Bielsa that would allow us to get out of those situations. So oftentimes, you'd sort of hoof it out, and then there'd be someone there to bring it right back in again, and that was sort of how we got hemmed in. So we don't have that sort of outball situation and that we normally do, and maybe there are some profiles in the team like Sinistera or others that might be better at ball carrying and being able to get it out if we can get the ball to them as an outball than what we had available to us at that point in time. But I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll have to see how that plays out, once we have him back as an example. But again, I think the positive thing is that we bent, but we didn't break. And that was critical. And that's, ultimately what allowed us to go on and take all 3 points afterwards. So,
yeah. Okay. And then we'll move to, I want to take the subs as a separate issue, and we'll go a little bit more in depth in that. Cause I mean, one could say that won us the game, the way the subs came in.
No, I think it absolutely did. Yeah.
So let's talk about the Aronson goal.
Yeah.
And I believe it's off of an inbound if you take it all the way back, or a throw in, and it comes to Pascal. Pascal, I think, I'm not sure if I've got this completely right. Pascal passes it to Adams. Adams breaks some lines with his long central pass to Klich. And then Klich starts running at the defense, and Klich puts in Bamford.
Yeah.
And Bamford obviously squares the ball to Aronson, who's streaking from midfield.
Yeah.
What do you think of that sequence?
Well, so you froze up a little bit there. So I think I got your question. I think first of all, it was great build up. It was rapid. I think Klich absolutely made the critical pass there. I think he showed a lot of vision to see, and of course, I don't think we're going to talk about Bamford a little bit as well, because although I don't think he had the best game, which is understandable. I mean, that's not saying anything bad about Bamford. He wouldn't have the best game because he hasn't played very much for a very long time. He was a little rusty, but his movement was critical to that. I think he still has that, even if he wasn't sharp in terms of goal scoring. His first touch has never been the most spectacular part about his game anyway, but it was off even more than normal. But that pass by Klich to him in a way that he could receive it, and bear down and get that square ball across was absolutely critical. So I think that's just one way how Klich, I think, changed the game when he came on. His movement, his passing, everything, his vision, like he was excellent when he came on. That was a real game changer for me. And maybe it's Klich and he's got a point to prove. And we've seen him do that before. I mean, that's how he ended up going from the bomb squad to being the first choice, starting every single game under Marcelo Bielsa, who, had originally planned for him to not even be at the club. Klich a point to prove, and I think he played like that. Bamford's movement was excellent. I think throughout the game, that was one point I think that he did really well. And you can see that he got in positions to cause problems. He had the assist. He had that header on goal. He was in the right place at the right time. Just it wasn't quite directed. If he had directed it down, again, that's just that little bit of finishing quality that I think he needs to get that back. Through continuing to train and continuing to play, he'll get that sharpness back again. And we know that Bamford's a streaky player anyway. So I think that, I think Klich changed the game. And I think that passage of play highlighted again just how dangerous this team can be, and I hope that we'll be able to continue to play that way moving forward. Obviously, because it wasn't exactly a team goal the way that we sort of may have seen under previous regimes, but it did show the quality. Yeah, it did show the quality of the players that we have and the ability for them to attack central spaces very quickly under this new system. And I think it obviously bore the fruit we needed it to. Aronson absolutely scored that goal, by the way, own goal. I mean, yes, probably the defender got a touch on it too, but that one angle looks to me like the ball came off of Aronson as it was going through. So I don't know. I'm sure the defender would agree Aronson scored it as well.
Yeah. exactly. I mean, when you're running that hard into the space, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and Andy touched it.
Yeah.
No, I want to go. So the substitutions, I'm just going to go through them in order,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk about them. So in the 65th minute, Klich comes in for Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Okay, that already we'll talk about. In the 73rd minute, and I think this is right before the goal, Greenwood comes in for Raka.
Yep.
And in the 84th minute, there are two changes. It's Somerville for Aronson
Mm-hmm.
and Gelhart for Bamford.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I just think energy immediately. He used all four. I mean, his counterpart used one or two. I think he didn't go beyond the three. When you can use five, it's like it's great. I think and they can play together. But I guess the first question is, well, let's tackle this. I mean, Klich came in for Rodrigo, and to me, playing him on the front line, he originally came in or played I think his best football under Bielsa in that midfield 10 role partnership with Hernandez.
Pablo, yeah.
When they were together in the midfield playing behind Bamford or whoever the striker was,
Yeah.
I thought those they were perfect, hand in
Yeah.
glove, and so that him playing more forward is so needed, and I think going to help him hopefully stay at Leeds and for his career. So, what do you think of the first substitution?
Well, I know Rodrigo wasn't too happy about it. He didn't seem too keen on that drink they tried to hand him once he sat down. So he looked disappointed to come off because he had scored and he had done fairly well. I mean, I think his pressing isn't the best, but he looked better at it now this time, I think, than he has previously. Perhaps this system actually suits him a little bit more now that we're actually getting into the system properly. Because he never quite looked right in that central midfield area playing under Bielsa. Like occasionally he would have flashes where he did, and he did have some good games, but we know that it really hasn't worked all that well, that particular transfer. And that's got nothing to do with the price tag attached to it. Like it just simply hasn't worked all that well. But I mean, I think he had a decent game. Was he right to be frustrated? I mean, I guess that's fine. Players can be frustrated. They want to play. He's played well enough to stay on, but I think the boss got it absolutely right. And I think you can say the result speaks for itself, but I also think at that point in time, you need to start changing things up. You need to refresh things. He seemed to be tiring a little bit. He may not agree with that based on his reaction, but I think it was clearly, both in hindsight, but at the time as well, I felt that it was the right substitution to bring Klich on. And yes, seeing Klich in that more advanced attacking role is exactly where I want to see him, because he's got quality there, right? He has the ability to pick a pass. His shooting boots may have left him a little bit, although we know that he's been able to pull that out every once in a while too. But I think that is where we want him. I don't want him playing a defensive role. I don't want him chasing back. We saw that he tried to do that previously and was fairly slow. Looked like he's running through mud. So, I think it was an excellent substitution, and it really did sort of change the game and allow us to get back into it.
Yeah, I concur. And, Klich is kind of an anomaly. Not an anomaly. No, that's not the right word. I go where I think he's got quality. He's older. He's 31, I believe now. Polish international. Mm-hmm. Now he's on the fence for his team. He's just the guy, like he's the opposite of Lewandowski. Like Lewandowski's like this machine. He's just, he's ripped and you look at Klich and he's he's got COVID, and there's shots of him coming out with cigars on golf courses. You know what I mean? Like he's just like he's a different guy, and he's a character that you want on that squad, and you kind of he just was such a he'll forever go down in Leeds history as a promotion star. So
the only player I've seen score at Ellen Road.
Okay, all right, yeah. So you like him obviously as well.
Yeah, fond memories.
But he but there's times where it feels like maybe it was last year or coming out of, I think he had COVID twice. He just looked like he was jogging around the pitch, and he didn't.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, And so I guess, what's your thoughts on Klich? And we'll move to the other substitutions. You want him to stay on the team, obviously. As do I.
I don't want Klich to leave. I want Klich to do what's best for him. So if he has to leave to get himself in the World Cup squad, then I understand it, and I will always appreciate him for what he's done and for his service to the club, and for the character that he is, and the tremendous amount of joy that he's brought to us on and off the pitch. I would prefer that he stays. I think he's got a lot to offer still. His role may be different than it has been in the past. He's not going to start every game, but I think he's got enough to offer that I would like him to stick around if that's something that can be worked out for him, for his good and for ours. And yeah, I mean, how can you not like the guy? I mean, his off pitch stuff is fantastic as well. He's a real character.
Yeah.
His socials always funny. You feel like he's a real person. He's not there to sort of create an image of himself for people to consume.
The Bob tweet.
Who he is. Yeah, exactly right. He's just a real person out there doing his thing, and you can appreciate that, and especially in an environment now where we have so many, and that's not to speak ill of anybody else, but where we have so many people whose Twitter accounts are run by their PR firms. He's doing it himself, and he's just being who he is.
Yeah. I hope he stays too. And he brought a lot of energy. Yeah. That's the thing that I saw on over the weekend was just, he was pressing. I was like, is that Klich? Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's, this is great. And maybe he's off the bench. Maybe he can't give us a full 90 or 85 or whatever it is anymore. If he can give us, if comes in on this in the 65th minute and does that, wow! I mean, that could be a player, especially with 5 substitutions this season. So I am in the keep Klich part. I was before, but now I'm even more. So then Greenwood comes in. Greenwood plays in that holding role. So what did you think of that?
Yeah, as one of the sixes, one of the pivots. So that's Greenwood's evolution from being a striker to being an attacking midfielder to now being an everything midfielder has been really intriguing. I think he can do it. Like I was skeptical of that at first. We know that he's got talent. He's good on the ball. I think there's a player there for sure. He's got a lot of, I think he has to go through a period of refinement. But he's making the midfield thing work, and I think that's probably where his future will be. And it's a bit surprising to me, but I mean, he didn't. I don't think he came on and influenced the game significantly or anything of that nature. But the fact that he can just come in and be steady, be reliable, and there will be times where he influences the game and he does very well. But in this case, he just came on for a pair of tired legs. Did a serviceable job, did what was necessary. And it's good to be able to rely on him for that because he's a young guy, looking to prove himself, clearly versatile. Clearly he has a skill set that's important. We know he had that one chance at a free kick at one point last season, I think, where, he blazed it over or whatever, but we know that he's got that quality as well, which is something that we could use, from time to time. So,
dead ball.
Genius with a dead ball.
Piece.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad, I'm glad for him to stick around and to have a part to play this season.
Yeah. I thought it was great too. And we'll see. I obviously think he's a great to go along with dead ball. He's a good passer. So yeah, thought that was a great substitution, and obviously different than what we saw last year. And the more versatility he can bring to the squad is what we're going to need. We're still not the biggest squad in the world, and I guess we're slightly bigger than we were last year. Yeah. What would you say?
Our next starting left back, Sam Greenwood. No, I'm joking. I hope not. The next Stuart Dallas.
Gosh. So 84th minute to kind of see out the game. Somerville for Aronson. Jaffe comes in for Patrick Bamford.
Not fair, is it?
What? Yeah, I mean, I thought that was. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Somerville? Sure. I mean,
I like him. I can't help but like him. He's full of energy and running. He's full of trickery. He carries the ball well. Obviously, he's young guy. He's got lots of improving to do. Keep building his physical presence. He's not a very big guy, so he can still get brushed aside. But I like him, and like I said, I think it's almost not fair to be winning a game. And to bring on players like Jaffe and Somerville, and I mean, even someone like Dan James would obviously not this time we couldn't
because of the legs. Why are you saying that, Michael? Are you saying it's unfair because of the legs or because of the
yeah? I mean, it's
like the youth. It's
not
like 20. Yeah,
it's not really unfair. Like I'm being a bit facetious, but it's you have these young guys come on with a lot of energy, ball carrying, trickery, running at the defense. I mean, you see, Jaffe does that. He picks up the ball and runs at people. Somerville picks up the ball and runs at people. When they're trying to get back in the game, having someone terrorize them like that has got to be very frustrating.
Right.
So I think that's the part that I really like about those substitutions,
right.
Is that they weren't defensive substitutions. It wasn't like come in and shut up shop. It was come in and start terrorizing them even more. And that was a Bielsa philosophy. Look, go attack right until the very end, and everyone loved it. And I expect everyone to continue to love it, just because it's a different manager doing it. Keep loving that.
So I see what you're saying, and I think it was like, okay, well, I've had freaking Aronson on me for 87 minutes.
Absolute pest.
Now I've got a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid that could run, that could, play 180 minutes and not, and be fine. So anyways,
and fearless, both of them fearless.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I thought Jaffe would get one more to kind of really just put a bow on it. If we could poach one more goal, that's what I was looking for in the final. Yeah. And that's great. Instead of being like, and it was kind of like that. Maybe the last 2 minutes, the ball just seemed to, like you were saying in that 20-minute period right before or right after the second half, or second half just kicked off.
They had it down.
The ball was going out and they were coming back in.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel there was any danger there, right? Like they had been thoroughly run ragged, and we had attacking players that they had to be careful of. And that's the important thing, right? Even if they're not able to grab the ball and attack, the threat is enough, right? That Wolves had to be careful. And I didn't feel, yes, they had the ball at the end. Yes, we were defending a little bit, but I didn't really feel the same sense of anxiety that I felt perhaps in many games last season when we were holding on. I felt that we would hold on, that we had shown that we could bend and not break.
I want to go back to Patrick Bamford. We touched a little bit about him. And I saw some commentary on some folks that played the game. I think whether it was on Sky or we have a Premier League channel on Peacock that basically repurposes a lot of stuff from the UK and Australia. But they were just like, Patrick Bamford, just as a defender, they're going, he just makes you uncomfortable because he's always on the shoulder. He's always trying to run between us. Like he just, even though he could have been more clinical on Saturday, he was just still making the defense be aware of his presence and running between them off the shoulders, the phrase that I always hear about him. And that was missed so much last year. I mean, I know we talked about it so much, Michael, but man, it's good to have Patrick Bamford back. I know he didn't get amongst the goals, but it's the little things that a 9 does that he knows how to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. It's great to have that focal point, and for that focal point to be Patrick Bamford, because again, it's the positioning, it's the playing off the shoulder. He's not a small guy. Like he's not, he's not a big physical kind of player like a Mitrovic, for example, who's there like bullying people. But he's an absolute pest, and he's tall as well. So he's got an aerial threat. We've seen him score headers before from set pieces and from crosses. And we know that he works very well with Harrison in that regard. So, yeah, he's an excellent all-around attacking threat. And his movement, I think, is probably the best part of his game. It is absolutely elite. And wrapping up in that, it's not just his movement to put himself in goal-scoring positions, but his movement to peel defenders off and create opportunities for other people. He is probably one of the most unselfish strikers that I have ever witnessed. And you see it over and over and over again. And people who are much more attuned to this than myself have commented on the same thing. Which is to say that unselfish running for the team, peeling defenders away so that other people can score goals. Strikers always want to score goals. That's what they're there to do. But he is willing to do the hard yards to allow other people to score as well.
On the day, what were your thoughts of Rasmus Christensen and Pascal Struijk? What were your thoughts on them on the day? And then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, Christensen obviously had that bit of a stumble, which led to the goal. So, you'd have to mark him down a little bit for that. Obviously I've made my comments about what I think happened, or certainly what appeared to me to have happened before, but he does need to learn from that and do better with those types of balls. I think he's good going forward. I think he made a very important tackle as well, possibly a 2 points saving tackle to redeem himself. So overall, it was a slightly shaky but generally pretty good debut for him. And I think I think he'll get better and more solid as he learns how to contend with Premier League quality wingers, as opposed to what he was perhaps used to previously in the Austrian Bundesliga. Neto's a very difficult winger, a very tricky winger. He's fast, so I don't think we can be too harsh on Christensen for that. It was, like I said, it wasn't a great debut, but it was solid enough with one major mistake notwithstanding. And I think he'll do all right. I'm not concerned based on that performance, even though there were some mistakes. Struijk is just a professional. No matter where he is, what he's doing, you ask him to do a job and he'll do it. He won't always do it to an elite level. We've seen that, when he's come in and played central midfield, for example, but he does it. He does a professional job. He's serviceable no matter where you put him. Obviously, I think we'd like to see him at center back more often than not, as opposed to left back. I think we do need a specialist left back. You're not going to get the same kind of attacking threat from him going forward, usually, that you would get from perhaps a wing back. One area of strength for Firpo is his attacking threat going forward. I'm not the biggest fan of Junior Firpo, or at least not what he's done for us so far. I'm always hoping for more. Certainly defensively, but in an attacking sense, he's excellent. You're not going to get that from someone like Struijk. First of all, he doesn't have the build for it. And that's not his strength. He's not rapid in the same way. He hasn't spent his career learning to whip in crosses or that sort of thing. He's a center back. He's a center back playing as a left back. And as far as you can get with that, I think he did as good as you could possibly expect.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pascal put in a shift.
Yeah.
Did you lose me for a little bit?
Mm-hmm. I did, but I just kept talking.
All right.
The show must go on.
All right. Hopefully everything works out. I'm on. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on tonight. Weird night, but yeah. I mean, Pascal put in a shift. I thought he did. I thought he did better than Rasmus, and it's not just the goal. There's something. I think Rasmus first game in the Premier League. I think Rasmus gave them too much respect. The wingers. It looked like he was giving them a lot of space, and they were just like he would back up almost to the penalty box. He would back up. He would just back up too far and give him too much space. That's what I thought. So, with that being said, obviously he had a great game-saving tackle that's been played on social media. I mean, incredible. Yeah. And another person that had a game-saving tackle was Diego Llorente. And if you remember, it's late in the game. We've got the lead. He tackles the player, much like Rasmus did. I think it was a tight area. And Melier points to his head, points to Diego Llorente's head. Like,
I remember.
You know what I mean? It was very kind of like a teammate, good seeing that and stuff like that. So I thought Diego might have had a few yips. I can't, although nothing's coming into mind right now, but he is sporadic and but he also was good moving forward. I remember another play besides the game-saving tackle. He kind of dribbled the ball really far into their territory. It's like, Diego, pass it off, man.
Yeah.
And he goes beyond the midfield, and I think passes it to one of the people in the front four. I'm like, wow, it's pretty good. Like, dribbling past people here, Diego. What were your thoughts on him? I mean, Cox seemed pretty good too as well. I don't know if he put a foot wrong. So the center back pairing and Diego.
Yeah. So I just want to say, because I know you missed some of my comments on Christensen, I think, because you had bounced out. I agree with you. I don't think it wasn't like a nightmare debut or a debut to forget. It wasn't great. It's like a solid 6, like he made a mistake that led to a goal. He also made a game-saving tackle. He, made some errors, and I think you're right. I think he did give them a little bit too much respect. I'm not concerned about him long-term. That was basically a summary of what I was saying before.
Yeah.
And yes, Strauch absolutely had a better game. If Rasmus Christensen was a 6, Strauch was a 7. The center back pairing, I said, it held. It held when it had to. Koch, very solid. He's, probably one of my favorite for that position at the club. I think that's, I think he is solid enough and is a very good central defender. He's got great recovery pace, which is important when we're losing the ball. So that's key. Diego Llorente, I have to hold my hands up. He actually played fairly well. Again, I've been somewhat critical of him. He had a decent game, another 7 performance. He's a bit of a walking bomb scare sometimes. You do worry when he goes walkabout up the field and then all of a sudden we get hit on the break and he's not there, which is why I'm so glad for someone like Koch having good recovery speed because he has to cover. So that frightens me often, but I have to give credit where it's due. I think he had a decent game.
So coming up on Southampton, we have the Gaffer's press conference tomorrow. Let's assume that Sinistera is available. What that means? Let's say he's
Probably bench.
available.
Probably
Yeah.
bench.
Let's say who else is? I don't think Firpo's ready, right?
No, I don't think so.
Who else? Dan James is now off the yellow card.
Yep.
Do you make any changes for this game? Obviously, Klich played well.
Yeah. No changes for me.
No changes. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
No changes for me. It works well enough. I think it will work well enough against Southampton. And they're coming off of a bit of a battering where they took the lead and then, Tottenham really got them in a chokehold there. So, no, I think I would keep everything the same as long as all the players are fit. We need them to be fit. I'd like to see those players get more time to sort of bed into their positions. I want to see Adams and Rocca working together more, because that is going to be clearly the central midfield, like the pivot pairing that we're going to have. That is going to be the main one for most of the games, I would suspect. I think Bamford needs to play again to start honing in on his sharpness. There's absolutely no reason to drop anybody else in the attacking line at all, because they all played well enough. Klich as a sub again, I think is fine. He was the difference maker, but I don't think he necessarily gets in ahead of Rodrigo.
What's great about 5 subs is you could maybe make a change in the first half and be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
So if you see how the game is going and it's like, this just isn't working, you could make a change early and see how Klich plays for 50 minutes or a full 45.
It's interesting this year because Hasenhüttl seems to have gone back to a different formation rather than the 4-2-2-2 red ball sort of thing that he would be doing. I know we haven't really seen that so much from Jesse Marsch either. Obviously, he's just starting, but even in preseason, we were seeing a 4-2-2-1 kind of thing, which can easily switch to the 4-2-2-2 depending on where the attackers go. But Hasenhüttl seems to have gone, I think, to a 3-5-2. More of a defensive structure where they can drop back and defend. So it'll be interesting to see how we line up against that, if we stay with the same formation or if we change it up at all. With the 3 at the back situation.
Yeah.
I know with Bielsa, obviously, we used to always try to go for that. If they had 2 attackers, we'd have 3 defenders. If they had 1, we'd have 2. I don't think Marsch is going to do that. I think he's going to stick to his formations. He may tinker with them throughout the course of the game, but I think he's going to stick to them and just play our game and not really respond to what the other side's doing.
My I guess only concern is that it's a narrow versus a narrow. Even as you said, it's 3-5-2. Are they going to want to both get the ball or be passive on the ball? Who's going to? So in those type of games, when both teams want to play the same way.
Yeah.
You just don't know how that's going to wind up going. Obviously, they're probably going to work it out and simulate it. I don't make any changes either on this game. I don't think Sinisterra's got enough time.
Mm-hmm.
Klich is the one that you could probably want to put on. And I don't think, obviously, Rodrigo scored a goal, so he can't come off.
Yeah.
So I don't make any changes. Obviously, we're a little bit deeper for this game, specifically up front. And mentality wise, like the Saints are gonna be up for this. I think they got another hard one. I think Manchester United / Scum. They've got a run in where they're like, we got to get. It's like us last year. They're like, we got to pick a point. We got to get a win at Leeds, and it's early. We're 2 games in, and it's like, we need to get this game. We need to get these points. A loss would be really bad, and a tie would be okay, but we really need 3 points. So I expect their best game. I expect it to be a difficult game, and obviously Ward-Prowse is Marsch called it a free kick last year. I wouldn't call it that, but he's really good with set pieces. If he gets opportunities to cross the ball into our box, like just a bad tackle just beyond midfield, we'll be like, because he can put it on somebody's head.
Yeah, his ball striking from dead balls or even from open play is elite. So, yeah, it's a danger.
Yeah, and so, what are if you had to pick a score prediction, what would you say?
I think we can win. I don't know. I think Southampton might be in a bit of a bad way this season. Their defense looks shaky. Yes, they have some real weapons in attack, absolutely. But I think, but Ward-Prowse, for example. But no, I think their defense is shaky and can be got at, as it was in opening weekend. But we're not quite that level of elite. I do think you're right, though, with both teams generally playing narrow, although I'm going to have to see how narrow Southampton are playing this season. If they are playing a 5-man midfield, they may be trying to get a little bit wider. But I mean, you're right. I think their instinct is to try to go narrow, the same as ours has been.
Well, even if it's not narrow, like the counter pressing, you have the ball.
It can get really scrappy in the middle, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. This could be one of those games where the ball just kind of gets pelted around midfield a whole bunch and looks like pinball rather than football.
Yeah.
So it could just be a very dull and scrappy affair potentially, but I think their defense is there to be gotten at. And I think we've got the players to be able to do it. Especially if Bamford heats up, like
he's getting in good positions.
Yeah, that's it.
He's getting in really good position. He could have had 2 or 3. I mean, that header, and he broke away where it was 1-on-1 with the keeper. He was a little bit. If the pass got to him, the player just broke it up. I mean, people were going, "Oh, how did he bottle it?" But he honestly, if the pass got to the other player, it would have been a goal. So they were open on net. I don't have a problem with that. But he's just getting those type of runs. He's getting in good positions to where it's like, man, if he gets hot, he's going to get 20 goals this year and stays healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah. And he's a great
presser.
Go 2-1. 2-1. I'm going to hope for a shutout and go. I just think that the mentality of the team is different. I'm hoping that even though it was a 2-1 game, the ability to come back from 1-0 early is like a little bit of a state, and the pressure of Ellen Road. Yeah. Adams missed a pass where he no one was behind him, but he just mistouched the ball. And the whole stadium goes, "Oh, You've been at Ellen Road. I have yet to go, but and they say it's a pressure cooker, but it's like that was just something where it's like the fans are in the stadium. It's pressure to play in Ellen Road, I think, for Leeds.
Yeah.
So.
And the stands are basically right on top of the pitch, right? So it's.
But close. He was ready for it. He played great the rest of the game, and Aronson played great for his first game, and Rasmus played. I mean, he didn't play great, but that's his first Premier League game, and he had some great plays. He had that header right before he got injured, or had a little time, a period where he was being looked at. That was like a monster. Like he was like, whoa, boom! Yeah. Like it was just like. So I think that these guys aren't. I guess my punchline is they're not scared of the moment.
No.
And this. So when I'm like, man, if they get hot, I'm like, it's gonna be 3-0. Like I get way too fan oriented, but I am hoping for a shutout. I'll go 2-0. Final answer.
Who do you think gets on the score sheet?
Let's go Paddy.
Yep.
And let's go Aronson. I almost want to say 2 for Paddy, but
Yeah. I was thinking Paddy and Aronson too, but I think Harrison.
yeah.
Yeah.
Boy.
Patrick Bamford and Jack Hare. I think Jackie would get one.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got another rifle on him. So let's see here. I think we got everything that we wanted to talk before all this happened. So, any other final thoughts after the first game? Do you think we're destined for mid-table? Do you still want another player up front?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I do. I still want a left back and a player up front. And then I will be confident of a high mid-table finish. I filled out a table recently, like a predictor, and I put us in 10th. I think I maybe said that on this pod last episode or 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
That if we get a left back and a striker that are at least mid-level to better, that we have every chance to finish 10th. And I think that's where we'll be. If we don't get those, I'm a little more concerned, but I don't think our floor is below 15th this season. I think we'll at least do that well.
Love it. I mean, after last season, we take that all day. 15th, it's like an easy 15th. I always say, give me a mid-table finish with like a couple of top 6 wins.
Yep.
I mean, like the City win that we had the first year. Like if we could get a Liverpool or Scum win, we did beat Spurs our first year as well at home. Yep. So those were nice. Chelsea win. My gosh,
that would be excellent.
You want to? I think
that's in a couple weeks.
That's in a couple weeks. It's at home.
Yeah.
If for some reason we win that game, Leeds wins that game, I think the hype train that you're going to be seeing coming out of America, especially if Aronson scores and Pulisic isn't named to that that starting 9. Not just that USMNT who's better, which I do think Pulisic's a more refined. He's more quality. He's more quality player.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just the fact that the coach. If it was just players, I mean, I think there's as many or more. There's more Spaniards on the Leeds than Americans. There's 2 Americans. I think there's at least 3 Spaniards that would start: Llorente, Firpo, and Rocca. So it's not just the fact that there's
Rodrigo.
Rodrigo. Yeah, there's 4. So and all would be possible starters. So I mean, the team's more Spanish than it is American. But the fact that it's an American coach, I think, is the kind of nail in that.
Yep.
Thread here nationally, and
49ers Enterprises.
49ers Enterprises. But if that win happens, not only just for the Premier League hype, but like I think it just attracts a lot more fans from North America to Leeds to be not their backup club or their second club. I think they choose Leeds to be their club. And I think we're going to see it. We're already seeing it. I'm seeing it in chats on YouTube below the comments, on a few national podcasts on USMNT soccer, etc., where they're going, Leeds is now my favorite club.
Yeah.
And that's huge. That's just expanding that the power, the impact, the money that this club will hopefully have to rise up and challenge that, top 6 narrative.
I saw as well recently, may have been today or yesterday, that our social media presence in the U.S. is the fastest growing of any club in the Premier League. So, I mean, great work to Digital Wilson and the social media, the media team at Leeds for that, because that's excellent, and it does show, I think, the opportunity that we have in the North American market. Obviously, I'm from Canada, so I have a special spot for us trying to capture the Canadian market as well. There are quite a few Leeds fans around here. But yeah, I mean, they capture this market here. It's a real growth opportunity, and it's a chance for us to increase not just our presence, but our, obviously our revenue and the stuff that we need to do to build as a team and start, climbing the table on a more regular basis, and maybe eventually one day be competing for those European places. You can't do that without money, and you need the support for to generate the revenue.
Yeah, it is a business. What's your thoughts on I chuckled when I heard or read this headline on the jerseys falling into the ocean. Have you heard this story?
Yeah.
What were you?
Yeah. Let's just hope that, yeah. Yeah. I hope that's not allegorical at all. It's
no.
yeah, unfortunate. Unfortunate, obviously, supply chain issues are bad enough as they are. It's even worse now. But I'm sure that isn't an example of how the whole season's going to go or anything. Just a little bit of bad luck.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. But
and now everyone can buy those little flash blue cheese looking ones.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I
don't mind them actually. The blue.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably. I always wait if you. Like disclosing like my strategy here, but let's say it was a normal year and they were here and all this stuff. I usually wait towards the end of the season to grab them. They were the home jersey was wound up being like $25 or $30 at one point. Yeah. I don't know if they're still available, if it's possible to grab them, but then you get stuff early and it's $100. Like with us, obviously everything is coming from the UK, so
shipping.
It's not like we can go to, so we pay another, I don't know, $30-$40 in shipping.
$30, I think like $30 or something for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Wait till the end of the season; it'll be discounted. That's fine.
One of the things that's frustrated me actually is that we have Adidas outlets here just as well as you do, I'm sure, where you are, and I've been to them and they don't carry our stuff. I thought one of the things with being at Adidas is that they're basically a supplier, in the sense of like a distributor, and you should be able to find their associated teams in their shops. But I haven't seen any Leeds stuff in an Adidas shop yet. So third season in, I mean, you would hope that changes. Maybe they were just we don't have a big enough. They don't think we have a big enough draw yet to put them in over here. Or what, but I mean, I think we sold 300,000 shirts or something last season, which puts us firmly in the top 10, if not top 6, 7, whatever, of clubs in the Premier League. So we should start seeing those things come into the shops over here rather than have to order them necessarily from the UK and have them shipped.
Yeah, it is. It is annoying. I'm hoping that it. Yeah, I mean, it's getting better in a sense. When it was Kappa and it was the championship, I remember. Yeah. I don't even think they took USD. I had to convert it to to pounds or something. I had to find a way to. Now that it's Adidas or the shop, the Leeds shop is accept currency around the world, so that's great.
Yeah, that's good.
And yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, Adidas, I mean, that's why you do it.
So if any Adidas rep is watching this,
gets the hair to
let's get the gear in the North American shops. All right.
I remember talking to you, and it was when Messi was signed, it was later that afternoon in the United States at finishline.com, you could get a Messi PSG jersey the same day. I'm going, I can't get a Leeds jersey to I have to go call up the service, and then it comes, and it's so we'll see. But when they do sell, I think they'll be flying off the market. It's a shame though the U.S. market, I know, is going to be wanting Adams and Aronson jerseys. So
This was purchased in a local shop. This one was purchased in a local shop over
nice.
20 years ago, right?
Oh,
That was purchased locally in Toronto.
okay.
So there's no excuse for us not to be able to do that with the jerseys of today.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Here. I mean,
yeah.
And I like to go into it because when you buy, the other thing about buying online, we're going on a soapbox here, being in North America, but it's a crapshoot. I think Adidas sizes are weird.
Yeah.
I bought stuff where I'm like, okay, medium or whatever, or small. And it's like, this is freaking huge. So it's just nice to go into a store and be like, okay, this is going to fit me. You know? Yeah. Adidas sizes, you agree?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's true. I found the sizing is a bit weird too. And I'm a bigger dude than you are. So, yeah. Also, one of the reasons why I don't wait until the end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I've seen that. I've seen some sizes run out.
Yeah.
That's all, folks. That's all I've got.
Yeah.
Southampton away.
Another
Michael
3 points
Maynard,
coming up.
the Leeds faithful. And obviously, I will be sharing some clips on Twitter, tagging you, my friend. And
perfect.
Yeah, have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Leeds.
Leeds.